This is CBC Here and Now.
We've seen lots of 20-degree temperatures, and finally, St. John's is on the list.
Shortening the wait list for heart surgery. Newfoundland and Labrador has formalized a deal it has with the Ottawa Heart Institute.
When you only have 4 surgeons, you're always vulnerable. You lose one, you're down, right? 25%. But with a bigger team, the impacts or any turnover are less.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Pretty concerning when it's blatant right in front of you. They knew all along that they were vulnerable.
Warned by cyber experts, a CBC investigation reveals what the province knew more than a year before Eastern Health's cyber attack. Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. The province will continue bringing heart surgeons here from Ottawa and sending some patients there for cardiac care. Health officials say it will shorten the long list for heart surgery, but not everyone agrees. Here and Now's Mark Quinn reports.
4 surgeons from the Ottawa Heart Institute have been performing surgeries here at the Health Sciences Centre since 2020. Now that arrangement has been formalized. There will be 3 cardiac surgeons based in St. John's full-time and a 4th rotating surgeon from Ottawa.
So what we've done today is we've cemented a regular rotation. When you only have 4 surgeons, you're always vulnerable. You lose one, you're down, right? 25%. But with a bigger team, the impacts or any turnover are less.
There are about 150 people waiting for heart surgery in this province. With continued help from Ottawa, that list is expected to become much shorter. The CEO of the Ottawa Heart Institute says it will take time.
I think that with the support of the Institute, the waitlist in Newfoundland can gradually decrease, but it's not going to happen overnight.
The opposition, however, is underwhelmed. They say they expected more than an announcement that the province will continue to do what it's already doing.
I was actually excited, thought this was going to be the announcement of the Cardiac Centre of Excellence that Dr. Connors and his team have been lobbying for the last number of years, that we outlined in our Blue Book. I thought it was going to go to that level where they would show how they're recruiting additional cardiac surgeons, how the new process would speed up access, would eliminate the wait list.
The NDP says the province shouldn't have to rely on outside help to take care of its own heart patients.
We've got a teaching hospital here in St. John's that services the whole province. We should have the resources here to do that ourselves without having to rely on a heart institute to basically backstop.
It's expected this arrangement with the Ottawa Heart Institute will last for 5 more years. Dr. Sean Connors says it brings his dream of having a Newfoundland and Labrador Heart Institute one step closer to reality. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it's finally starting to feel like summer, at least some summer-like temperatures out there across the province today. Take a look at the numbers. 20 degrees in St. John's today, 24 in Terra Nova, and that is the warmest temperature that has been recorded in the province so far this year. And then those temperatures up across Labrador as well. Back down a little bit, 11 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 12 in Lab City, and we have those temperatures along coastal areas of Labrador sitting in the single digits. Now, you may have noticed this move through earlier today. It looks pretty ominous, but that is in fact the cold front that moved through. Those temperatures have dropped in behind that, and you can really see the actual cold front moving through on the radar here. I'll just wait till it shows up. There it is, and that is dropping those temperatures. We're going to see a wind shift. I'll talk about what to expect when I come back.
Gaspar Corte-Real was a Portuguese explorer and, among other things, a slave trader.
A critical look at historical figures, reconsidering who we pay tribute to in this province. That's ahead a little later on Here and Now. Well, Ottawa says it's committed to doing more research on seal populations in Atlantic Canada to better understand the species. This comes just a day after an industry-led report painted a scathing picture of DFO science. Here Now's Troy Turner has more.
The population of harp and gray seals in the North Atlantic is at an all-time high. But there's still a lot the Department of Fisheries and Oceans doesn't know, like how much and exactly what those seals eat. According to a report from the Atlantic Seal Science Task Team, the department's science is woefully inadequate.
I think we need more science on seals. This is recommended by the Harris panel. And we need current science. A lot of the work that was done on diet and feeding was done in the 90s and in the nearshore area. Most of the seals are offshore, and the sampling in the winter and nearshore, there's no capel or cod of any consequence anyway.
The fisheries minister is on board to change that. She was in Corner Brook today to announce a summit for this fall, which will expand on seal science, their diets, and draw on local expertise.
The purpose would be to bring people together from different walks of life, people that are out on the waters, the seal harvesters, the businesses, the industry, as well as the scientists, academics, and really have a discussion about a way forward where the ability to process and market products from seals would be advanced.
Murray says it's unfortunate the science is outdated, but says the problem predates her government.
I thought back to the 10 years of a previous government where explicitly science was sidelined and departments were cut. So I think that there probably is a bit of backlog of science to do. And so we have, as a government, have invested a lot to bring back scientific capacity at DFO and in other departments.
She wants to see the feds work with provincial governments and businesses to develop a market for seal products.
I think the key thing here is humane harvesting and harvesting towards full utilization of the product. And I think there are potential markets for seal products. So those are some of the kinds of things that will be explored at the summit.
We believe that the Government of Canada, Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and the development agencies need to work with industry to develop markets. Right now there's a TAC of approximately 400,000 animals, and that's not being taken. So there's room for growth in the markets, whether that's Asian markets or wherever. So we see that as a key part of maintaining the population and managing basically the seal population and harvest.
At this stage, Blackwood is unsure if the task team will be involved in the upcoming SEAL Summit. His priority for right now is to see the recommendation followed through that will lead to more comprehensive and expanded science on seals. Troy Turner, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, from seals to snow crab, there was a protest today in St. Mary's. People there want the fisheries minister to grant snow crab and other fishing licenses to the newly refurbished plant.
A very young man, 40 years old, a young entrepreneur who is we're really grateful that he wants to set up here. He's sunk like over $500,000 into renovations in upgrading this to be a top-notch facility. And the government seems to be stalling on granting the license.
It's been around and involved in the fishery ever since I was 6 or 7 years old, and we want to bring some life back to our communities. We don't want anybody else's jobs. We're not trying to take anything from anyone in any other processing plant. Like this plant operated for years, and another one up the road, and another one down the road. We just want to bring some of these jobs and some of the revenue back to the region.
We're here today in full support of getting this processing license underway here in St. Mary's. Yes. There's a huge processing capacity limitation here in the province. All of the boats here are tied on. They can't get fishing. Why? Because the companies can't process it. We have the ability to get this started. We have 5 licenses apparently that have been requested. Where are they? Where is Minister Bragg?
There was a time that people thought that whole Newfoundland was the last place you wanted to go. The attitude is changing. Yes. COVID-19 and the high cost of living and the safety that we can provide here for people all over the world. We have a school up there that people in big cities would die for, a state-of-the-art school, and all we need is to get those young families in here and to get a field. And if there's work here, I have no doubt in my mind that we can do it. Yeah.
The next step after this, we're going to be on Confederation Hill. And I'm telling you, we're not stopping till we get what we want. Thank you very much.
If this don't happen by Monday, me and Verna are going to Confederation Building. Anybody's invited to come with us, but we're staying. We're not leaving. We're staying. We're staying at Confederation Building starting Monday morning, and we're not going to be leaving until we have a license. Anybody else wants to come? Great.
We did get a statement from the Provincial Fisheries Department. It says Minister Derek Bragg has asked for a meeting with the Fish Processing Licensing Board to discuss their recommendations. That's a full month after the board met to consider the application from St. Mary's, and a year since the original application for snow crab. Well, there were warnings about flaws in computer networks at Eastern Health a year before a cyber attack hit the province's healthcare system. A report warned of a shortage of staff and a lack of important protections. Our Peter Cowan explains in the CBC Investigates story.
In September 2020, Eastern Health received a report that questioned its readiness for a cyber attack. The provincial system may be experiencing cybersecurity breaches now with no knowledge or response possible due to the lack of skilled staff, the lack of set processes, and the proper technology in place for the inevitable cybersecurity threats, the report found. It says Israeli experts were brought in and found numerous vulnerabilities, security concerns, and compliance issues that needed to be addressed. We showed the report to cybersecurity experts in Canada and around the world. Their assessment?
There are pretty loud bells ringing when you read that report.
I think it absolutely could be considered a warning, and in that respect it's significant that a cyber attack happened a year after the warning.
The report found that while the systems were built by Eastern Health and the Newfoundland and Labrador Centre for Health Information to best practices, there were insufficient security analysts to ensure full compliance.
The fact that they said that there weren't analysts to do the compliance checks means that they wouldn't even know if there were parts that were broken.
If you don't have the personnel to maintain this system, is like having a car that you never plan to change the oil or to light bulbs or the tires. So eventually it would wear off and it would very quickly become obsolete.
It's not just a shortage of staff. The report found the system was lacking important tools to automatically detect threats and lock them out before attackers can do too much damage. The report says there's currently no system or person being alerted or dealing with potential inbound or internal security threats on a 24/7 basis, leaving them open to attack.
They're not looking for these kind of suspicious behaviors that I'm talking about. They're not looking for any kind of obvious threats that are coming into their environment. And frankly, if you're not doing this 24/7, let me remind you, a lot of the attacks don't come from North America. They are not occurring, between Newfoundland's time zone and the Pacific time zone. They're happening in Europe and in Asia.
These warnings came more than a year before hackers made their way into Newfoundland and Labrador's health system, stealing personal information for tens of thousands of employees and taking 200,000 health records. It also canceled surgeries and procedures for thousands, people like Tom Norman. He's been off work for a year with back issues. Last fall, he was ready to start injections in his back, injections that could get him back to work. But then the cyber attack happened, and everything was put on hold.
Yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I think the attack happened 2 days prior to my appointment, so I was really looking forward to going to get the first injection, yeah.
Right now, there's no evidence that the vulnerabilities in this report contributed to the attack, but government has refused to say anything about how the attack happened, whether a ransom was demanded or paid. Were these problems fixed before the attack? It's not clear. This report was commissioned as part of a plan to create a cybersecurity center of excellence, a long-term project to develop expertise and protections here at home.
Did any action happen out of those assessments?
Yes, so some action would have happened out of those assessments, but again, those assessments were meant to set the stage for this larger project, not to identify any specific.
But what did they fix? Did they hire more people? Did they bring in 24/7 monitoring?
I cannot talk about the cyber attack because I'm not the official spokesperson.
We reached out to the Centre for Health Information and the Department of Health looking for an interview. Instead, we got a statement that didn't provide any clarity about what was fixed after this report was released and before the cyber attack. All of that is leaving patients and experts wondering if more could have and should have been done to prevent it. Tom Norman eventually did get his shot 8 weeks late, but he wonders what would have happened if the attack had been prevented.
It's pretty concerning when it was blatant right in front of you. They knew all along that they were vulnerable. And I'm not really worried about it anymore because now that it's happened, you know, it's comparable to a group of people saying we need a traffic light at this intersection. Nobody's doing anything until there's blood, right? Same thing here.
The health department says it took a range of steps to contain the breach and prevent hackers from getting in, but won't say any more. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, today at the House of Assembly, we asked the health minister what he did with the information in this report. He insists a full threat assessment did not show any red flags.
They weren't brought to our attention, not in this particular instance. This was a separate issue. It was Business Innovation Centre at Eastern Health. Those questions about vulnerabilities, you better address with them. We simply got a business proposal.
The opposition, however, says the warnings were clear, even if the action wasn't.
Eastern Health didn't take the lead on it. The minister and his department didn't take the lead on it. It was never discussed when we went through what's happening, the last 6 months with the cyber attack. So there's a group of individuals here who either didn't do due diligence or deliberately dismissed this as not being important. But we saw how important this would have been had they been proactive.
In other news, some St. John's driving instructors are looking for a break. They say they're being discriminated against because the Facility Association requires them to pay a costly type of insurance, which is reserved for the most undesirable drivers, and they don't understand why.
Our vehicles are some of the safest vehicles on the road. I can proudly say that we've never had an at-fault collision. And, when you consider the number of miles or kilometers, I should say, that we put on our vehicles in the run of a year, we're talking 250,000 kilometers a year, way above and beyond what the average road user is putting on a vehicle. And just like Paul mentioned a minute ago, we have the ability to stop that car and prevent a collision at any time because of the secondary brake.
Josh Vase says he's now paying upwards of $2,000 more each year, and that's per vehicle. So why don't insurance companies want to insure driving instructors? Stay with us. That conversation continues in about 15 minutes on Here and Now. In other news, the royal visit is just a few days away, and today Charles and Camilla were getting ready for the trip. The royal couple went to London House today to talk to some Canadians. They also took in a performance by cast members of the London production of Come From Away. And that's the musical, of course, about how people in the Gander area helped thousands of stranded travelers on 9/11. Charles and Camilla's royal tour starts Tuesday in St. John's. They'll be in the city for the afternoon before heading to Ottawa.
When I started out, it was unheard of women going into politics early in marriage or having children. Today, it's normal.
Ensuring there's an equal voice. Why this MP says her toughest conversations often happen behind closed doors within her own party. That's ahead after Ashley's weather.
Well, we've got lots of heat in the area, especially for eastern areas of the island. How long is this going to stick around?
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Absolute final deadline is midnight, Friday, June 3rd. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Time for a look at the weather, and what a forecast it is. Another beautiful day in St. John's. Saw a little bit of a sun shower earlier today, which was interesting. I was keeping my eyes open for a rainbow, but didn't see one.
Oh, well,
but it was a great day.
It was an absolutely beautiful day. Lots of heat out there across the province. You know, we saw temperatures in the mid-20s in some areas, which is lovely. But let's take a look at what's going on out there across the board. We've got a lot of heat for the eastern half of North America. 30 degrees in Montreal today, 25 in Toronto, and then finally reached the 20-degree mark for St. John's, although it was very brief earlier today, but lots of areas seeing those temperatures. Greats Cove broke a record today. It was 19 degrees for you, and then Terra Nova as well at 24 degrees. You broke a record, but lots of heat. Gander 21 this afternoon, 12 degrees in Rec House, a little cooler as we head towards the coast and more so up across Labrador as well. Tied 12 degrees in Lab City today, and again those temperatures into the single digits along coastal areas of Labrador as we see some of this colder air start to filter a little bit further south. So unfortunately, this nice weather, at least these 20-degree temperatures, aren't going to last much longer. We do have this cold front that's moving through, and just in case you missed it a little bit earlier and you're looking up and you're seeing this cloud, this ominous cloud cover move through, we can see it actually showing up on the radar, or on the satellite rather. That's it there. So it's going to continue to push itself further south as we head through the night tonight. In behind that is where we're seeing some of this colder air. So we did see that cold front go through a little bit earlier today in Gander. Not quite a dramatic drop. It peaked at about 21 degrees today. Those winds shifted more northerly, and then we started to get down onto that downward trend. 13 degrees right now in Gander. A lot more dramatic though for the St. John's area. 20 degrees at 5 o'clock today. Those winds shifted northerly as that front moved through, and they dropped down to 13 degrees, and that's where we're sitting right now. And we're going to continue to see those temperatures drop. You can already see Bonavista down to 7 degrees, Twillingate, same thing. Still in the teens though through parts of central and the rest of eastern Newfoundland, but again, those temperatures will drop as we head through the night tonight, dipping down to near zero in some cases, maybe a few degrees above. And the winds will shift from northerlies to northwesterlies. Not a whole lot to speak of, only about 20 kilometers per hour, but it will certainly feel a little bit colder. Northern Peninsula, you're going to go down to the minus single digits tonight, and then up across Labrador, coldest in Lab City at -5 with those winds generally light tonight. So not a whole lot happening weather-wise as we head through the overnight. Maybe some cloud cover up across northern areas of Labrador, but other than that, nothing really. But we are going to see the next system, or at least the next disturbance, move through. Clouds will be on the increase as we get towards the early morning hours, and then eventually some showers will show up for southwestern areas of the island. Same thing for Lab City. You'll see some showers in the morning as well with some cloud cover. And then by the time we get into the afternoon, most of the south coast as well as the west coast up until about Corner Brook should be seeing some showers. And eventually as we head into the evening and overnight, those showers are going to work their way a little bit further north and a little bit further east as we get into Saturday morning. So Saturday certainly starting a little bit wet in some cases. Temperatures tomorrow not quite as warm as today. Should still be fairly nice. Winds will be out of the northwest in the morning, about 20 kilometers per hour, and then they'll actually die down as we head into the afternoon. So the 12 to 15 degrees is actually going to feel pretty nice with that sunshine. Now as we head towards central, a little bit more cloud cover in play. However, you should certainly see some peaks of sun. Twillingate, you'll sit around 6 degrees near the coast. Further inland, you may reach a couple of degrees warmer than that, and the west coast as well is going to be where all the unsettled weather is with some showers. Not a whole lot, but still that chance of showers through the day. Corner Brook will sit around 13 degrees. Northern Peninsula a bit cooler than that. I still have Lanzaloo around 10 degrees tomorrow. Not a whole lot of wind for you either. And then some sunshine for coastal areas. Now temperatures should sit in the teens tomorrow for both Lab City and Happy Valley Goose Bay with lots of sunshine for you. These temperatures should stick around for a little bit, but I'll get into the long-range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the organization Equal Voice, which advocates for gender parity in politics, held an event last night to celebrate the political career of Labrador MP Yvonne Jones. About 400 people gathered to help Jones mark a milestone, 25 years in politics. So we stopped by to speak with her about what's changed for women in politics during that quarter century and what hasn't changed.
But you know something, it seems like it was just yesterday when I was making my way up the steps at Confederation Building for the first time. And I look back on it now and I say, where have the time gone? You know, I watched a video they just showed of all the different segments over the years. And, you know, it really was a blast from the past because you tend to forget all the different issues that you stood up on, that you fought for, and there's some you will never forget because the struggle was just so hard.
It may feel like only yesterday to you, but so much has changed with regards to women in politics during that time. What have you noticed over the years? How different is it now compared to when you first started?
Well, when I started, it was unheard of women going into politics early in marriage or having children. Today it's normal. You know, I sit in the House of Commons where women are breastfeeding babies, where change tables and family rooms are all around you. I always tell the joke to people, when I went into politics, the only technology we had was a telephone and a fax machine, and we lined up at the office, used the fax machine, and now you can do everything with one device in the palm of your hand. And when you look at that rapid transition over the years, in technology, we've not been able to move women to the House of Assembly and House of Commons at the same pace. So we can do it, we just need to put more effort into making it happen. The same barriers aren't there today that was there when I came in at 27 years old. So it's great opportunities for young women to look at politics as a career field, as an occupation, as a way to be stronger advocates and to influence the things that are important to them in society.
What are some of the barriers that still exist for women entering politics?
The misogyny is a big part. Most people don't want to deal with that because men often are criticized for their work, women are criticized for their work and a lot else. So that's something that we work with just to kind of show that, you know, that is inevitable. There are ways to mitigate it and there are ways to still push through and have your support systems. There's a lot of things on the systemic side as well. So, you know, looking at making sure that women are put in stronghold places across the province. So ensuring that they're running in places where the party that is already sitting there hasn't been there for years.
I think no matter what we do in our lives, there's always going to be barriers. Politics is very demanding, and obviously you need a tough skin, and you aren't just born with that. That's something that you develop. But I think for a lot of women, what I would say to them is that if you're strongly convictions in what you want to do, if you're determined to make change, and you have an interest in the law, you have an interest in advocacy, politics is a field for you. The barriers itself will always be there. It's up to us to break those barriers down. And you're not going to break them down by sitting home complaining about them. You're going to break them down by standing up and doing something to change it.
Women's groups lately in particular have been talking about, in this province, about pay equity legislation, that the province has not enacted pay equity legislation yet, while other Atlantic provinces have had it for a really long time. What are your thoughts on that? What needs to happen to make that happen?
More women in positions of power, stronger advocacy, elect more women in the House of Commons and the House of Assembly, and that's what's going to change this. We are never equal until we're equal, and we are not equal. There isn't gender parity for women in this country yet, so there's lots of work to still do.
Is that a conversation that you would have with your Liberal counterparts in this province about, you know, steps forward that could be taken on?
Absolutely. We have many tough conversations. The one thing that people perceive about politics that is truly false is that if they hear you ranting and raving, they think you're effective. But real effectiveness comes from delivering on something and making sure that you succeed. The toughest conversations we have are with our own people. are behind the closed doors of governments or oppositions that we're a part of. And that's the piece that the public often fails to understand. So yes, I talk to my provincial colleagues and my federal colleagues on many issues. We don't always agree, but determination and never giving up a fight in something you believe in is what makes you want to get up every morning and go back to work and tackle that same issue over and over again until you succeed.
Welcome back. Well, some driving instructors are scratching their heads wondering why insurance companies don't want them. As I mentioned earlier, some safety instructors say they're only being offered a costly type of insurance reserved for the most undesirable of drivers. They spoke with On The Go's new host, Anthony Germain.
Paul Proust, Josh Vey, appreciate your time. Let's talk about the insurance challenge you have. Paul, let's start with you. Explain what facility association means.
Well, facility association is an avenue where the insurance companies have come up with a market for people that are pretty much uninsurable, right? So what happens is if anybody has received a bunch of traffic violations that are involved in several number of accidents, that have been charged with impaired driving. They go into what is called a facility association because it's a form of insurance that they can avail of, right? So the whole problem we have is that we're clumped in with all of these people. We're put into facility association. And so we're basically in with all the impaired drivers and all the negligent drivers that are out there, right? So,
Because facility association is a term, it sounds like it's almost like a friendly, nice place to be. Josh, you're laughing, right?
You do not want to be in facility, sir. Yeah. So facility association, like Paul just mentioned, if you've become uninsurable through either your own driving record or if you've been deemed a high-risk client by the industry, then essentially they're going to stick you in there because as long as you haven't accrued the maximum number of demerit points, you have a right to operate a motor vehicle. And in order to operate a motor vehicle, you must have insurance. And if the only insurance that they're willing to give you is facility, that's the only avenue that you can avail of.
You guys are certified people who teach people how to drive safely. Yep. So why are you lumped in with that group of untouchables almost?
That's the large question that we're trying to get an answer to. Like, there's no other market out there for us. So I guess the insurance companies just said, okay, well, let's just poke them into facility, because we have to have insurance, right? And the sad part about it, Anthony, is like we're educating people on highway safety. I mean, in our opinion, we're the safest vehicles on the street.
Give me a sense of the impact on your business. Like, how expensive is insurance for you guys? Because obviously you wanted to talk to me for a reason. Yeah. I'm assuming when you're looking at your books, you're going, uh-oh.
Well, Anthony, Josh received his in March, and I just received one last week we were both with the cooperators, right? So they had a facility association market there. My insurance at the present time for 3 vehicles is $1,500 and I think it's $1,592 a month that we're paying for 3 vehicles. So
is that combined?
That's for my 3 vehicles. He has his own separate one, right?
So it's $1,500 a month or $1,600 a month?
Yeah, for the 3 vehicles.
And what about you?
Well, for us, prior to March, we were with the cooperators, which we were forced out of because of that's the big question, why we were forced out of that market in the first place. But we were paying approximately $6,000 a year per vehicle, which now, as of April 1st, we are paying almost $8,000 per year per vehicle, and I have 4 vehicles. So you're talking, a $2,000 increase per car. Yeah. That's a lot to try to make up.
If I want either Josh or you to train my young adult child, it's going to be more expensive, right?
Yeah.
Well, combine our increased cost of insurance with inflation in general,
and the
gas prices being the largest example of that. I mean, of course, the sad part is the price has to be passed on to the customer. And it's not through any fault of the customer. In my opinion, it's through lack of oversight in the industry. It's the Wild West for insurance out there.
We would like to have the board back in 2019 recommended that there was people that are in facility association who do not need to be in there. And I would consider us one of those people. So we would like to have a separate market. Yeah. I mean, facility is non-profit. So if the insurance company came up with a market for people like us and just charged us, well, it would be beneficial to us because our rates would be reduced, but they would make money on it.
Other provinces, such as Ontario, have driver instructor insurance. That's a thing. We don't have such a market here. It's
so just a separate category that's unique for you guys.
Yes, yeah. It's specialized because, let's be honest, it is a very niche business. It's a very unique market with unique needs. And unfortunately, we're dumped into facility because A, the insurance companies don't really want to deal with us, and B, they certainly don't want to go out of their way to create a new market, and C, the government is not interested in getting involved. As much as they might respond to our emails, which they do sometimes erratically, sometimes not. I've been ignored just as many times as I've been responded to. They're not willing to direct the Public Utilities Board to legislate this, regulate it.
Well, now back to the upcoming royal visit. The Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations will see Prince Charles and Camilla in St. John's next week. And today, the royal couple was getting into a Canadian frame of mind, feeling some Canadian spirit in London. The CBC's Tom Perry reports.
Prince Charles and his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, stopping here at Canada House today. This is in advance of their trip to Canada next week. the royal couple meeting with a number of people, shaking very many hands, making a lot of small talk. They also had a chance to examine, have a look at some Indigenous art that's on display here and to sign the guest book. But the highlight of the day was the royal couple taking in a special performance of 2 songs by the London cast of Come From Away. We had a chance to speak with a Canadian cast member afterwards and asked them what it was like performing for the royal couple.
It was surreal. I wasn't expecting to get to do that, and then to get to do this Canadian show that I think everyone in Canada who knows about it is so proud of. To get to perform that for Charles and Camilla was just really special today. Yeah.
Now, we also had a chance to speak with Ralph Goodale, Canada's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, and I had a chance to ask him about the importance of the upcoming royal visit.
Having institutions that demonstrate strength and stability over time, as well as a sense of the future, how to grapple with those challenges effectively and bring people together in a world that tends to be very easily divided. This time is important and this visit is important.
Charles and Camilla will be in Canada next week. They'll be visiting Newfoundland and Labrador, the Northwest Territories, and Ottawa. Tom Perry, CBC News, London.
The province is full of statues and monuments dedicated to kings, queens, and other people of significance. A critical look at who we remember and why. That's next. Well, as the province works towards reconciliation, conversations have emerged about who we remember and why. A government review has already led to the renaming of a lake and a museum and the rewording of our coat of arms. So what could be next? CBC asked Salome Barker to bring an Indigenous lens to this question.
Words matter, symbols matter, representation matters. And if you look around Newfoundland and Labrador, there are words, symbols, and representations of Indigenous people that cause harm and don't accurately represent who we are. Think of your own name, for example. Think of how much it means to you and is part of your identity. Now, imagine you tell someone that your name is Mary, but they call you Brenda instead. It doesn't feel too good, does it? But finally, change appears to be coming. The provincial government is conducting a review of cultural symbols, observances, and monuments. And that review has already turned up plenty that need to change. The first change to be announced is the provincial coat of arms. Designed in 1637, the official description refers to this pair of Beothuk warriors as savages. You get a sense of where we're starting from. Next, government announced it was renaming Red Indian Lake in central Newfoundland. Good pick, but government failed to consult widely enough on the new name and ended up choosing a name from the Mi'kmaq language for a place that was inhabited by Beothuk people, which rubbed some people the wrong way. A few months later, the province announced that it would now be called Beothuk Lake instead. Then came the Mary March Museum in Grand Falls, Windsor. The Beothuk woman for whom the museum is named was kidnapped by European settlers who called her Mary March. Her name is Demasduit, and so now the museum will be known as the Demasduit Regional Museum. So that's what's been announced so far. But where does the review go next? Government says there's plenty more under official consideration. Inside Confederation Building, there is a huge mural that depicts the province's early history, and the Indigenous representation in it is problematic to say the least. The mural is now going to be expanded by an Indigenous artist. Then there's the statue of Court Real across the street from Confederation Building. Gaspar Court Real was a Portuguese explorer and, among other things, a slave trader who was said to have abducted 57 Indigenous people upon his arrival in Newfoundland or Labrador in 1501. Speaking of statues, there's a plan to build a statue honoring the Beothuk, the island's original inhabitants and stewards of the land, on the grounds of Confederation Building. There's the former Discovery Day holiday on June 24th. The name was scrubbed in 2020 because you can't discover a place where people have already lived. It's been called the June holiday ever since, but the province is looking for a better name. Then there's the Colonial Building in St. John's. Once the seat of government in Newfoundland, the building is now being turned into a museum. But the word colonial and all of its terrible history may not be in the building's new name. That's the official list for now, but there could be more to come. There's Mount Peyton in central Newfoundland, which is named after John Peyton Jr., the very person who kidnapped Demasduit and was charged with killing her husband when he tried to rescue her. In Nunatsiavut, 4 of the local schools are named after Moravian missionaries. Some former students in the community think that the name needs to go, although not everyone in the community agrees. And then there's Wilfrid Grenfell, whose name is all over the place. From the Labrador Grenfell Health Authority to Memorial's Grenfell campus in Corner Brook. Grenfell has long been upheld as a hero of this province, but there's been a renewed focus on his role in sending Indigenous children to residential schools. This list isn't definitive or complete, and no list can sum up the pain that Indigenous folks feel when they hear, see these places and symbols. And none of this would be news if more people had been listening to Indigenous people from the beginning instead of sidestepping our history or silencing our voices. But now you know, and now you are listening, and that is a start.
Well, we're going to get to the weekend weather in just a moment, but first, last night for Anthony's last show, we gave away Here and Now mugs and on-the-go ball caps in a combo prize pack.
Yeah, the trivia question was about whether you know your Newfoundland hats.
Yes, one was a salt and pepper hat, of course, there on the right.
There you go, and the other is a squid hat.
Such a big response to this giveaway. We took in all of the correct answers, and there were loads of them, and we randomly drew the winners.
Yes, congratulations to Denise Bowers in Happy Valley Goose Bay, Corey Morgan in Bay Roberts.
Also Sonia Drodge and Karen Butt, both from St. John's, and to Kevin Shepard. So we'll get those prizes off to you soon. And I guess, will they be needing any hats this weekend? Certainly didn't need it today.
No, you needed a ball cap today for sure with those that sunshine. But yeah, in the overnight for sure, we'll definitely need some warmer apparel, I guess to say, just because those temperatures are going to dip overnight. But we are looking at the chance of showers overnight Friday into Saturday morning, and those will work their way across the island and clearing skies the story across Labrador, at least through the first half of the day Saturday morning. But there is a chance we could see a few flurries. They're showing up on the system here just on coastal areas of Labrador. So in the morning, you may see a few flurries. And as far as the rest of the island goes into the afternoon on Saturday, we should see a little bit of clearing in some areas, but that chance of showers will generally stick around through the day on Saturday. And we are going to see the temperatures drop, particularly for the Avalon, down to the single digits. I have just showers in there right now, but there is a chance we could see a few peaks of sun. It won't be overly sunny, but we'll still see that potential for a few peaks of sun. Otherwise, showers the story across the rest of the island between 11 to 14 degrees. St. Anthony, you're going to sit in anywhere really in the northern peninsula into those single digits. The Straits, you may get up to the double digits, but I am going to keep that chance of some flurries in the forecast for you. That will be in the morning because your temperatures overnight will be quite chilly. And then that's the same along the coast as well. Your temperature's not really too warm though, only around 2 degrees as your afternoon high on Saturday. Now, as we head through Saturday evening into Sunday, things will improve. We may see another round of showers move through in the first half of the day. This could fall as some flurries. Don't be surprised to see flurries or maybe even some graupel through parts of Central, just because, again, those temperatures in the morning may be a bit chilly, and we may see that. But overall, Sunday afternoon should clear out quite nicely. We may see a few periods of cloud cover, but overall, it should be a pretty nice day. Then some showers will work their way in for Lab West. Temperatures back into the single digits, below zero for Nain, but daytime highs are starting to get a little bit cooler. So by Sunday, we're talking about 6 degrees in St. John's. Further west you go, a little bit nicer, 11 degrees in Corner Brook. Now, the 5-day forecast, we'll eventually see the return of those double digits as we get into next week. Certainly, or potentially, I should say, on Tuesday, with the chance of showers pretty much sticking around. As far as central Newfoundland goes, you're looking at double digits into next week. Same thing for the west with some unsettled conditions by the time we get into Tuesday. And then for eastern Labrador, 8 degrees and unfortunately cloudy skies and showers. Same thing for western Labrador. Now, you just mentioned, you happened to mention a rainbow this morning. Rebecca captured this, in fact, for this was in Kilbride this morning after that shower. So you were looking for one? There you go.
There it was.
There you go.
I should have been looking to Kilbride.
You should have been, yeah. If you have any weather pictures that you would like to share with us, send them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
And one quick note before we finish up tonight, a big night for sports fans. It's do or die for the Growlers tonight. The puck drops any second now at 7 o'clock. They're playing the Reading Royals of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's Game 5, Round 2 of the playoffs.
Yes, so good luck. Have a great night tonight. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Good night.